final day of the Olympics, Sunday afternoon here in London. Back inside our Olympic studios. Dan Patrick along with Pierre McGuire. His daytime job is covering the National Hockey League for NBC. You come here, you're covering water polo, which is the beauty of the Olympics. You're exposed to different sports. What did you know about water polo prior to arriving here?
That it was a dirty, rough sport, and that's it, and that's all. I never watched water polo until I watched the United States against Montenegro in the first game. The Americans win. I'm standing in the mix zone. There's blood coming out of a guy's groin. There's a guy that has stretch marks and scratch marks right across the top of his chest. It was the most barbaric thing I'd ever seen in sport.
And the women as well, because you came away from watching the women play, the U.S. women win gold, and you came back and said, you don't want your daughters to grow up to be water polo players unless they're going to be tough.
Unless they're going to be tough and really good, and the American women are so good, Dan. They're skillful, they play with poise, they play with pace. But what blew me away was the composure of Maggie Stevens, 19 years of age, 21 goals in the tournament, and she smiles every day. She's got scratch marks all over her chest. Her legs have all these marks on her from the underwater action, and she stands and smiles and delivers. And I'll tell you this right now, going into Rio, the Americans will have at least 7 of the 13 players returning, and maybe more. And Maggie Stevens, while she was a star in this Olympics, she will be a massive star in Rio.
You cover the NHL. You played in the NHL. You coached in the NHL. Compare the two sports in what you saw over the last 2 weeks.
Very similar, Dan, in terms of how physical, how aggressive they are, the fact that you have a goaltender, you have nets, you have out of bounds. All that stuff's pretty similar. Where it becomes dissimilar is the underwater action. We don't have that in hockey because we have 2 referees. They have 2 referees in water polo, but they're not in a pool. They don't see the stuff that goes on under the water. The underwater action, Dan, is some of the most barbaric, mean-spirited, nasty stuff I've ever seen. And the players love it. They're into it.
But the girls told me that they don't want that ruled. Yeah, they don't want it refereed. Underneath the water is what goes on there stays there. That they don't want it monitored.
Yeah, if you were their parent, you would want it monitored. I'll tell you that right now. That being said, I totally understand that because they're competitive athletes and they really care about their sport and they're proud of the legacy that their sport has. But what an Olympics it was for the American ladies. It was spectacular for them.
Back to the NHL. Are we going to have NHL players in the Winter Games in Sochi?
Every single